AITA. Am I the a-hole for not paying for my daughter's wedding? My husband and I started saving for my daughter's college fund since she was born. We both worked really hard for our money, and we accumulated a lot for her. She ended up getting a scholarship to cover a lot of her college, so we had about 20,000 left over. We offered to give to her at the time, and she said she'd rather we keep it for when she gets married, and we agreed. That was years ago now. About 4 years ago, my daughter came out as bisexual and started dating a girl. This shocked us a lot because we never saw her as the type. My husband and I were really upset because we loved the idea of her having a husband and a family, grandchildren for us. We thought it was just a phase, but 4 years later they are still together and they got engaged last month. They came over to visit and do some wedding planning. She got her journal and it had the finances they put aside for the wedding, as well as 20,000 mom and dad. I saw this and told her that we were planning on using that 20,000 for renovations now. She questioned us and we were upfront and said, we agreed for her to use that money under the assumption she was marrying a man. Her girlfriend got very upset and started calling us homophobic, and my daughter just sat there letting her go off at us. Then my daughter said, that money was mine and I had it all planned out to use it towards the wedding. Well, no, it is our money that we saved with a specific use. She left in a huff and told us to never speak to her again. I think she is being very ungrateful, but my other daughter has now turned on us as well, and said we are terrible parents. I am not homophobic, I respect same-sex couples, it is just not what I wanted for my daughter. AITA? Am I the a-hole? YTA. You're the a-hole. You were willing to just straight up hand over the money to her, and she asked you to save it for her wedding. Then she found someone to marry, and now you are refusing to hand over the money because that person happens to be a woman. You are being unsupportive and homophobic. And it's not even about the money, it's about how you refusing to give the money clearly shows that you don't consider her relationship valid or good enough. It shows that you think less of her because of her sexuality, and that's horrible. YTA. You're the a-hole and you're homophobic. You have no problems with same-sex couples so long as you're not related to them. You agreed to keep it for her wedding. Did you say at the time only if you marry someone of the opposite gender? No. Your daughter had a reasonable expectation. You had agreed to keep the 20,000 for her wedding. Normally I'd be saying not the a-hole when kids expect money from parents, but in this case where you'd agreed to it, hadn't ever told the daughter something different, and are a bigoted a-hole, you and your husband are the a-hole. YTA. Please don't try to downplay homophobia. You had a preferred sexuality for your daughter in mind and are not willing to accept her, rightfully, own decisions. You concluded together that the money you saved up was for your daughter's wedding. The money may have originated from you, but she has equal say in where it can get used. Let me ask you this, are you willing to alienate your daughter from your lives just to spend the extra cash on a new couch? YTA. To be clear, you aren't obligated to pay for your daughter's wedding. If you could no longer afford to contribute, because your financial situation or priorities changed since the last time you discussed the money, and its intended purpose, that would be understandable. But by your own admission, the only reason you aren't following through is that you don't approve of her same-gender partner. We have a word for that. It's called homophobia. I am not homophobic, I respect same-sex couples, it is just not what I wanted for my daughter. YTA. I'm sorry if this isn't what you want to hear, but I'm bi with a lot of friends in the LGBTQ community, and that's one of the number one thing homophobic parents say to make themselves feel better. You can't say you're not homophobic if you can't accept your kids' lifestyles. It's hurtful and basically a slap in the face. It's actually worse than just admitting that you are homophobic, because this is like saying, I'm fine with everyone else but not you. No kid asked to be born, they just were, so your daughter need freedom to control her own lives, especially who she marries. You already promised the money to her, so it already is her money. The deal was made without any caveat, so it's not right to back down on your end of the bargain just because you're angry. YTA. Homophobic parents are always like this. Good luck with this attitude for the rest of your miserable life without your daughter. YTA. You're the a-hole. You agreed to set aside that money for when she gets married. It doesn't matter who she gets married to, whether it's a man or a woman. You are completely going back on what you said to her, and quite frankly it makes you look very homophobic and basically an a-hole. How was she to know that this was meant to be for if she married a man? You know, two women can have children, right, and be great parents. You can still have your family and grandchild life if she chooses to have children. This post has just made me really angry because there is clearly some homophobic antics there. But yet, you're the a-hole. YTA. You can't claim to respect same-sex couples while reneging on the $20,000 being used for her wedding, because a same-sex relationship isn't what you wanted for your daughter. That kind of respect is nothing but empty words. Your daughter is happy. She wants to marry the person she loves. And you have a problem with that because the person isn't a man, and it's not a heterosexual relationship? Just because you don't use the word hate doesn't mean it isn't homophobia. YTA. She was smart enough to get a scholarship to pay for her college, and then smart enough to not blow it all by having you save it. She's definitely smart enough to notice that you're refusing to give her the wedding money because you're homophobic. YTA. My daughter isn't doing what I want her to do, so I'm taking my toys and going home. And then you call her ungrateful? She is who she is. You've made it clear you don't like who she is, who she loves, or what she wants in the future. You can't possibly be surprised that she never wants to see you again, except you obviously are. Find a therapist, your narcissism is showing. Come on, reread your post and tell me that you aren't an a-hole. You set it aside for her wedding, she ends up wanting to marry someone and it isn't what you wanted? LOL, who the frock are you to decide who she has to be for to qualify for the money you were able to set aside, because she worked hard enough to get a scholarship? You are absolutely the a-hole. You enjoy those renovations, hope they are worth ruining your relationship with your own daughter for the rest of your life. YTA. You're the a-hole and homophobic and biphobic to boot, and here's why. You agreed to give her the money when she got married. She is now getting married. She should now be getting the money. You never saw her as the type? What does this even mean? Have you calibrated the world's first fully functioning 100% accurate gaydar? Queer people have families in exactly the same way that hetero people have families. Adoption, IVF, surrogacy, etc. are all options for everyone. No need to pearl clutch on that one. You wanted grandkids for you, despite that maybe not even being what she wants for herself. You thought it was a phase. Do you know how demeaning that is? She would be bisexual even if she was to date from only one gender. But I will bet any amount of money if they split up, and she settled down with a man, you would be so happy she turned straight. You set aside that money with the assumption she would be getting married, and then realized she wasn't the perfect heterosexual child you hoped for, and then added the condition of the gender of her spouse. Would you rather she be in an unhappy relationship with a man, just so that you don't have to deal with her having a relationship that challenges your homophobia? That money was set aside for her to get married, and you have decided her relationship isn't worthy? Do you want to be cut off from your daughter, because this is how you get cut off from your daughter? And finally, I am not homophobic, I respect same-sex couples. No, you don't. You don't, because when it matters you don't. This is not an opinion, this is fact. You do not respect, and a separate rant about how much I hate that, same-sex couples, because if you did you would be handing over that $20,000, and welcoming your future daughter-in-law with open arms, rather than letting your daughter know that her relationship is only valuable and valid to you if it involves a cisgender non-plastic penis. To summarize, you're a massive arsehole. Sincerely, a bisexual woman who is married to a woman, who was still bisexual when I was with my boyfriends. It is never, and will never be, a phase. YTA. You claim not to be homophobic, but when it came to the true test you got a big fat F. The only reason you're not paying is because your daughter is marrying another female. As long as your daughter is happy, why should it matter what their body looks like? Also, as far as grandkids go, adoption is a thing. You're a selfish woman. You don't care about your daughter and what she wants out of life, you care about what you want out of her life.